Hello and welcome back to the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast brought to you by the Last Man Standing with loserpool.com. As ever, I'm your host, Harry Symeou. And on this evening's live edition, we'll be looking ahead to that key fixture up at the King Power Stadium. It's Leicester City versus Arsenal. Hello. Good evening and welcome back to the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast brought to you by the Last Man Standing with loserpool.com. As ever, I am your host, Harry Symeou. And on this live edition, we'll be looking ahead to that crucial game at the King Power Stadium tomorrow evening. Now, apologies that my preview this week is a little bit late. I usually like to do them on Thursdays, particularly when Arsenal are playing on a Saturday, but unfortunately, due to work commitments and various other things, that has not been possible. But do not fear, I am here to bring you a breakdown of how I think Saturday's going to go, talk you through the team I would select, and at the end, I'll give you, of course, a prediction. Now, let's start off by talking about Unai Emery's press conference, in which he confirmed a number of things today. It appears that Granit Xhaka is still not ready to participate with the rest of the squad. Unai Emery also confirmed that Danny Ceballos will be out with a small hamstring injury. He's out for tomorrow, but we're not sure how long he'll be out for moving forward. Unai Emery, I should say, was asked whether Granit Xhaka will come into the squad. He said not yet. And when he was asked the reason, he said, I spoke with him on Tuesday about how he's feeling now, and how he is in his mind. Emery's press conferences are like tongue twisters. He's working well, he's training well, but he said to me that he's not feeling good enough at the moment to play. We are going to wait. So that is the latest on the Granit Xhaka situation. Not involved in the game up at Leicester City tomorrow night. On whether Mesut Ozil could start, Unai Emery had this to say: he's training well, and I think he's now being consistent in the training. He's also helping, and he's also positive. I am thinking about him for tomorrow for the possibility to play. So we could see Mesut Ozil starting up at the King Power Stadium tomorrow evening. There's a load of other bits here about why he made Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang the captain. He spoke about the hierarchy of captains in his five. He said that Xhaka was number one. And then after that issue, he decided it was best for him not to continue. So next in line was Aubameyang. After him, it's Bellerin. Third is Lacazette. And fourth is Mesut Ozil. That is what Unai Emery has had to say on the captaincy. I'm not going to read through the rest of the press conference. As you can see, it's quite meaty. There are a lot of words. And as I said, Unai Emery's press conferences at times, I find them a bit of a tongue twister. So I'm going to leave it there for now in terms of that. Now, if we look ahead to some statistics ahead of this one, for those of you watching on YouTube, I'm just going to share my screen. Do not fear if you're listening on the audio, because I will touch on all the points as well. But if you look at the head-to-head between Arsenal and Leicester in the Premier League, it's very much in Arsenal's favour. 26 games played. Arsenal have won 16 of those. Leicester just 3. And 3 of their wins, of course, came at home. Arsenal have won 12 at home and 4 on the road. There's also been 7 draws between the two sides. If we look at the recent meetings, Leicester City 3, Arsenal 0 last season at the King Power Stadium. That was a really, really damaging defeat for us in our pursuit for a finish in the top 4. Hopefully we don't see history repeat itself, because that was a really, really poor performance. Arsenal won at the Emirates last season by 3-1. We lost at the King Power the season before that too, 3-1. Really disappointing defeat once again. And we won, of course, the game in the league in the 2017-18 season. If I'm not mistaken, that was the first game of the season where it was 4-3. And prior to that, we beat them at the Emirates on the 26th of April. So that would have been the season before. So those are the last 5 meetings. In terms of the form guides of the two sides, well, there's a stark contrast here. Leicester City have won 4 of their last 5. Their only defeat coming at Liverpool, which there's no shame in, really, is it? It was a 2-1 win for Jurgen Klopp's side. Arsenal, however, have only won once in their last 5. A home draw with Wolves, a home draw with Crystal Palace, defeat on the road against Sheffield United, and a draw away at Old Trafford. There was one win in there, and that was at home to Bournemouth. But again, the display wasn't great, was it? Season so far, Leicester City currently in 3rd place, Arsenal in 5th, which is not a disaster when you consider the way everybody's talking about Arsenal at the moment. We've won 4, Leicester have won 7, Arsenal have had 5 draws. Draws are our problem this season. There's no question about that, because in terms of games lost, we've lost 2, and only Liverpool have lost less than that in the entire division. So, there you go. Average goals scored per match. Leicester 2.5 goals almost per match, whereas Arsenal's 1.5. Average goals conceded. Arsenal's is, of course, much higher again, 1.36 in comparison to Leicester's 0.73. In terms of clean sheets, Brendan Rodgers' side have kept 4. Arsenal have only kept 2. And in terms of chances created, well, Arsenal create 1.45 per match, which is not that bad when you consider Leicester's is 1.55. Now, I'm always a little bit wary of this statistic because it's based on absolute clear-cut chances, I think. So I'm always a bit wary of taking too much notice of that one. In terms of top player stats, in terms of the goals, Jamie Vardy leads the way. He's got 10 this season in the Premier League. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has 8. James Maddison is 3rd with 3. In terms of assists, Harvey Barnes, a player that Arsenal will need to watch out for. He's got 4, Chilwell 3, Ceballos is 3rd with 2. Passes completed, Caglar Soyuncu, a player that was heavily linked with Arsenal before he joined Leicester City. He's completed 750 passes. Matteo Guendouzi comes in at 2nd with 701, and 3rd is Johnny Evans, 683. In terms of tackles, well, in the top 3, there's not a single Arsenal player. Wilfred Ndidi leads the way with 53. Ricardo Pereira, the Leicester right back, he's got 49, and Caglar Soyuncu is in 3rd with 26. So those are the top player stats. As you can see, Leicester lead the way in every single department: goals, assists, passes, and tackles. So yeah, it doesn't make great reading going into this one. The game is, of course, live on Sky Sports. Kickoff at 5:30 p.m. At the time of recording, there are 21 hours, 21 minutes, and 42 seconds until this one kicks off. So, been having a little bit of a debate actually today with a few Arsenal supporters, and there have been those who, are talking about potentially losing if it means, it means that that's the end for Unai Emery. Would you take it? And I was having this debate with someone, and it's probably a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I think people sometimes take words too literally. And what I mean by that is this. Now, do I want Arsenal to lose? No, I never want Arsenal to lose any game of football. That goes without saying. But, I don't think there's anything wrong with being less disappointed by a defeat if it means that it's the end for Unai Emery. So if you're in the sort of camp that I am, where you've really, really had enough, you really want to see the back of Unai Emery, and you think that Arsenal losing will contribute to him being sacked, it's not that you're going to be pleased that we lost, but you probably be more accepting of it. And that's kind of where I am at the moment, and I know people are going to disagree with this. And of course, let me know in the comments. I expect it, but it's just the way I'm feeling at the minute. Let's have a look at who's in the chat box on this live stream. Big hello to Omar, to Tommy, to Danny from the AFC podcast, Burkamp Wonderland. Please check it out. Great show. Make sure you give Danny a follow too. Hello to Trace, and all the rest of you. Here we go. Let's see what you guys are saying. Just having a quick read through. I'll come back to those in a minute. I am a little bit pushed for time this evening, unfortunately. Work is getting on top of me, but I'm enjoying it. I can't complain. But it's been a really, really busy week, and I've told the wife I'll pop to IKEA this evening, which was a big fucking mistake. Excuse my language. Should have kept my mouth shut, but I guess it's the price to pay when you neglect your wife for most of the week. So, well, what can we do? That's my exciting Friday night. Right, I'm going to share with you guys my formation screen, because I'm going to pick the team that I would go with for the trip to Leicester City on Saturday evening. Here we go. And you can see the team is in a default 4-4-2 formation. I'm not going to go with that, as you can imagine. I'm going to go with... Let's have a think. Right. So in goal, I think this one goes without saying. Haven't really been impressed with Emiliano Martinez in the last couple of games. I thought he was quite poor at Anfield. Didn't think he was great the other night against Vitoria either. So, he made a couple of stops, but he just doesn't look comfortable for me. But what I will factor in is that with goalkeepers, I think it's really difficult when they don't get regular game time to then come into a side and perform. And you could argue that in terms of the last few months, when you factor in the Carabao Cup games and the Europa League games, Martinez has maybe had as much time as Leno, but I just think there's a difference in those games, and there's a different attitude and a different mentality around the whole squad going into those fixtures. So Leno in goal for me. I'm actually going to change it up a little bit. I know that Unai Emery did this the other night, and I don't think it worked particularly, but I hope that he's been working on it in training a lot, because it needs a lot of work. But I'm going to go with a back three, and I'll explain my reasons why in a moment. But the back three would be, for me, Socrates on the right, David Luiz, or maybe not necessarily this way round, but these are the back three anyway. And I'd actually go with, to most people's surprise, Shkodran Mustafi. I think he's been pretty good in the games that he's been playing. And I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but he's looked better than Rob Holding in those games. And I don't think anybody can deny that. The performances speak for themselves. I think that as much as I think Rob Holding has a lot of potential, he's not been good in recent weeks. He's looked very rusty. He looked poor again in Vitoria. He was really poor up at Anfield. I know Mustafi scored the own goal, but for me, it's a moment of misfortune. He's gone to cut out a cross, and how many times have you seen that happen in the game of football? I'll probably change this around a little bit and maybe put Mustafi on the right, Luiz on the left, Socrates in the middle here, and Mustafi there. And one of the reasons that I think about playing this formation is because, first of all, I think that we've clearly got a problem in the middle of the park, and we can't seem to find the right balance in terms of our midfield. Therefore, we're not protecting our centre-halves enough. So playing with a back three doesn't seem like the worst idea to me. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure last season Arsenal won 14 of the 21 games that they played with a back three, which is a hell of a lot better than the return we're getting now. So I would go with it. Now, Mustafi made a comment, didn't he, the other day after the Vitoria game, that they found it difficult because they haven't played it in a while, and I totally acknowledge that, and I've got sympathy for them there. But I just think that, hopefully they've been working on it in training. For me, it's the right thing to do. And if Unai Emery was to do that and we went and conceded 5 goals, I wouldn't necessarily put that on him. But I know a lot of people are going to disagree, and I'm happy to hear your reasons why. Please leave them in the comments. Right wing back for me, it's got to be Hector Bellerin. It's just got to be Hector Bellerin, because I don't like Callum Chambers being given more, license to go forward. I like Callum Chambers because he's really enthusiastic and stuff, but in terms of his technical ability and composure on the ball, I don't really want to see him on the right-hand side too much. I think in a back four, it's okay because, there's an emphasis on wingers in the team, and then maybe he's not asked to get forward as much. Well, he probably is, but he shouldn't be asked to get forward as much in theory. I'm probably going to go with Bellerin, and I know a lot of people are going to talk about his fitness, but when do you bring him back in the team? It feels like what are we waiting for? Left wing back, I'm going to go with Kieran Tierney, but in the wing back position, I'm not dead against Sead Kolasinac playing there, because I think he's got a lot of defensive issues, but I think he's okay in the opponent's half. He's powerful, and I worry about Tierney's fitness of late because he's looked rusty as well. He wasn't able to complete 90 minutes against Wolves. That was a concern for me. But like I said, these two guys here, they've been in and out of the side. They've been playing Europa League and Carabao Cup games and whatever, but at some point, you've got to embed them back in the first team, haven't you? Surely. So for me, that's what I would do. I think playing with those there gives us the defensive stability when we don't have the ball necessarily, but it also allows them to get forward. And I think both players enjoy affecting the game in the other team's half. In terms of the midfield, Matteo Guendouzi plays for me. And I'm going to go with Torreira as well. And I think that can work with those three behind them. And I say that because, I want to see Torreira in these positions, patrolling along here. But we've seen in recent weeks that he's been asked to play further forward. He's been getting into these areas, pressing out here, pressing out there. That's not Torreira's game. And if you're to believe the reports, Torreira's asked for talks about his role in the team because he's unhappy currently. So that's what I would go with at the minute. Guendouzi and Torreira, they've got to be disciplined. We're away to Leicester City, a very, very good Leicester City side. And whoever plays there has got to be disciplined. Maybe there'd be an argument for Ceballos, but he's been ruled out through injury. So for me, it's got to be those two, I would say. Now, ahead of them, I'd play Mesut Ozil because I think we're desperate for a player who can hold on to the ball, a player who can create. And for me, playing this way provides that platform for Mesut Ozil to go on and perform. When he receives the ball, he'll have Bellerin giving him the option here. He'll have Tierney giving him the option here, if indeed those are the two that Emery goes with. But the wing backs in general will provide him with those outlets. But it'll also have that insurance policy behind him of Matteo Guendouzi and Lucas Torreira, who can hopefully provide a platform for the German to go on and perform. Aubameyang is always a starter for me. No question about that. He's the new captain as well. And I'd start him up top with Lacazette because Lacazette hasn't been great lately. I get that, but I think he needs to play his way back into form. I think his hold-up play could be useful if we're going to set up quite defensively. And I'd like to see the pair play as a conventional front too. Now, there could be an argument that Unai Emery might prefer, if he was to go with this system, to go with Pepe because of his pace, and maybe on the counter-attack, the pace of Aubameyang and Pepe could be a real asset to Arsenal, similar to the way it was at Anfield at times in the first half, if you remember, before we got rolled over by Liverpool. But that's what I would go with, I think. Let me know what you guys think. Again, this is my 11. It's not necessarily what I believe Unai Emery is going to pick. So I used to do the one that I thought Unai Emery was going to pick, but lots of you in the feedback told me that you'd rather hear my starting 11. So there is my starting 11 for you. Let me know what you think about that, of course. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. That's what I'm going with. Like I said, I think the back three gives us a little bit more stability. I think that David Luiz is at his best in a back three. If you cast your mind back to the Antonio Conte at Chelsea days when he was fantastic, arguably the best spell of his career, he was playing in a back three. Because of being in a back three, he had that ability to step out and make up an extra man in the midfield when the team was in possession. And I think that's where David Luiz is at his best. There's a distinct lack of pace in the Arsenal defence. And maybe playing the three will make up for that. And interestingly, I know people don't like Mustafi, but I think he has been playing quite well lately. And I also think he's got a bit more pace than the other two, and that could be useful to us, particularly with Jamie Vardy up top. With the wing-backs, I want to play wing-backs. I mean, I'm not privy to exactly how fit those two are at the moment. There are question marks over their fitness still, but they've got to come back in at some point. Guendouzi, Torreira, for me, I haven't really got much choice there with Xhaka out and Ceballos out. I wouldn't personally go for Willock. I don't think he's been all that great of late. Yes, he scored that brilliant goal at Anfield, but other than that, hasn't really done a great deal. Mesut Ozil's earned a place back in the team for me. He's been fantastic of late. I thought he was good against Wolves as well for large parts. I know he didn't really get much credit, but that's because the team as a whole were pretty boring. But yeah, Ozil keeps the ball. Ozil earns you possession, and if you look at, sort of the way Arsenal have been able to keep possession in the last couple of games that Ozil's played, you'll see it's been a lot easier for us to do so than it was without him in the team. And it's not to say he's the best player in the world and all that rubbish, but he is a useful player, Mesut Ozil. And whilst we're paying his wages, because we're fucking paying it anyway, whether people like it or not, we might as well use him. Aubameyang, Lacazette up top. For me, Aubameyang has to start. Lacazette, if you were to swap him for Pepe, I wouldn't be overly fussed about that, just purely because I think the pace on the break can be of use to us, particularly on the road. Let's see what you guys are saying. Zod Sinclair says Chambers can be the third centre-back in a back three. Yeah, could be. Aussie Gooner says, I think Emery will pick the same team as you, but I think he will start Kolasinac over Tierney. Now, the reason I've gone with a back three, partly because I think it's the right thing to do because of the way we've been defending, but also because he done it against Vitoria the other night. It just makes me wonder if, despite saying he wanted to go with a back four this season, perhaps Unai Emery is considering going back to that system. I like this one. Ma says, you are playing with Staffy to ensure we don't win. Admit it. Not at all, mate. Not at all. Danny, the GFP. Hopefully people have seen that Mustafi was a victim of Emery's blame culture. It's Xhaka's turn now. Yeah, I agree with that. And Ryan Smith says, I like the look of that, Harry. Big shout out to Ryan as well. That brings us to the end of this brief preview show. Apologies, it's a quick one. Like I said, I'm off out this evening. Nowhere exciting, don't worry. You can find the podcast shortly on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify. Or if you prefer to stick to YouTube, then of course we are right here. Don't forget to give us a like, share it, all the usual stuff. And if you're listening on the audio, please do leave us a review. We'll be back very soon with more. Potentially may, if I get a chance, hopefully I do a fans phone in on Sunday night, so stay tuned for information on that. Follow us on Twitter at Chronicles_AFC if you don't already, for more information on that. Now that's it for this evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope Arsenal don't spoil it for you, and I'll catch up with you guys very, very soon. Until then, take care.